This is NDTV, and you're watching Classics.
Hello and welcome to Walk the Talk. I am Shekhar Gupta in this extraordinary setting, the Nataraja temple at Chidambaram in Tamil Nadu. Lord Nataraja, as we know, is called Lord of the Dance. He is the inspiration for a lot of Indian dance, in fact most Indian classical dance, including Bharatanatyam. And my guest today, one of the finest practitioners of that very fine art, Malvika Surkai. Welcome to Walk the Talk.
Thank you.
Nice to see you on our show and in this wonderful setting. I think the perfect setting for a tutorial on Bharatanatyam.
I don't know if it can be a tutorial on Bharatanatyam, but I think it's definitely a place which inspires dance, because I think spaces inspire. And I think, dance in the temple as a place where it sort of began, it started, was, grew from. So I think this place, and I think, the sheer expanse of space around one, I think is also fills one, I think, I sometimes feel when you go into a crowded room, it sort of disturbs you in a way. And I think temples with their architectures, this is my personal feeling, when we come into a place and we see the space sort of just, expand around one, I think it gives, I don't know, somewhere inside too, I think it touches one, and I think it makes you aware of something else too, or like a Zen garden.
Right.
I don't know, the silences which seem to fill space. I think for a dancer, one is very sort of has to be aware of it, in a very detailed sense, in a very perceptive way. But I think dance is really dancing with space. Sounds strange, but I think it is.
And spirituality? What's working on your mind when you're dancing? Is it creativity, spirituality? Is it where does inspiration come from?
I think when you dance, I think, for Indian dance, I think one was talking about dancing with space and time, which becomes two factors. And I think it's really a kind of alignment, with this silence around you. Because I think in India also one is always working with the opposites. So you might think dance is, sound and melody and music, but I think what the dancer is inside, deeply aware, is I think a kind of silence which fills it.
Does it come from gods too? This, as we know, is the home of Lord Shiva in his happy Tandav, the Ananda Tandav. Do you draw inspiration from God, spirituality?
Definitely, I mean, Indian dance is sort of...
I'm asking you that for a reason which I'll come to.
Okay. No, I think, Indian dance is, inspired by our myths, our legends, we do all the Puranas and the epics. And I think iconography, I mean, a place like this, when you say iconography and you say here we have all the, all these dancers and musicians playing. Right. I think it's a kind of, it sort of celebrates life, and I think in India, I think temples are about the sacred and the secular. Right. And I think that's what is a wonderful mix here, because we can have the sacred within and celebrate the secular outside. Right. Which gives us, I think, it gives us, I think, a balance to the world. It isn't all about austerity and, only austerity, but I think there's a sense of, this wonderful, the livingness of life, the spirit of life, which I think pervades.
And I don't think any other faith celebrates dance as much as ancient Hinduism.
Yeah, I think, as I said, dance became a part also of the worship. Right. And I think once, as a matter of fact, when I came here and I danced in the temple, and we are allowed, if you get permission to dance in front of the deity. Right. But of course, what is beautiful is that no one knows who you are. So you come in completely anonymous, absolutely. And you can just stand in front and dance. And then you see dance, take on a completely different dimension. Because when I was danced here some years ago, I had people, standing in front of me, and somebody was like praying and the archana was going on. It was so...
So your dancing here also was seen as part of somebody praying or offering?
Dance was prayer. Dance became prayer.
Right.
And I think that, invest in, I think even within you, it gives you another, another energy.
And I believe yet it took some doing to get permission to dance here. It was prohibited for a long time. I think the British prohibited it.
Well, I think the British did a lot of things. I think they did. And I think, the arts really went through quite a decline. But I think it's the sheer resilience of this country. I think the people, philosophy of this country. I think is wanting to, the upsurge, to reinvent. And I think that's what I think, at least for me, when I look at dance, I think if I, what do I want to do? I want to sort of reinvent this style, rediscover it and repossess it, because I think dance is not really, it's not dancing in an ancient form. People like to put it away as ancient.
Right.
I think it's a language. For me, I look at it as a language. So it's this very evocative, very magnificent language which we speak, except we speak it through the body and we speak it with gestures. But it's essentially, I think, this energy of communication. And I think that's
and particularly in your form, the face, the eyes, the lips, everything.
Yeah, it's also, it's not only, about like the face and the expression on the face, but it's really the whole body,
Right.
Which speaks. So it's like singing with your body. It's a fabulous feeling, initially as a student for dance, one is struggling for the first 10 years and you struggle, and slowly it sort of happens.
You didn't struggle very much.
No, I think I did.
You from at 11. At 21, you danced at Queen Elizabeth Hall in London. I think the youngest. from
Yeah,
India
that
to
was
do
at
so,
that
yes.
point of time.
Yes,
Yeah,
so
but I
you-
think, dancing
I know you
itself-
trained hard, but you didn't struggle.
No, well, I don't know. We
You
did,
had
I
far
think,
too much
both.
talent to struggle.
But I think it, dance, I think, I think it happens. I don't know. It's not to mystify it. I don't want to mystify dance. I'm really essentially a person who wants to communicate it and, share it with my audience, talk to my audience, and share this experience of dancing. So it's not about making it this very ancient and, exotic, mysterious form. Rather, I like to look at it as a language in the present tense.
Right.
I really look at it as speaking a language in the present. So it doesn't, as I said, I think it has a kind of another, I think, dynamic energy.
You talked about this wonderful Indian quality of resilience, of being able to preserve and yet evolve and carry on. Something that intrigues me at a time like this, when there is such a great economic boom going on. India is now seeing economic growth that it hasn't seen for centuries. India is
Sure.
being taken seriously around the world. It's fashionable. Nobody internationally wants to hear a bad thing about India anymore. People are even dismissing terrorism as something that happens everywhere. At that time, why don't we see any cultural renaissance? In all societies, when economic prosperity comes, with that comes a cultural renaissance.
I think it's, I think a cultural renaissance, I feel, that the classical arts, here I'd like to say that the classical arts really need to also be supported for a renaissance. You know what I mean? It can't just be on one's own faith, constantly, like, you have this fire in you, you have this blaze in you, this, so you have a vision. But I think it really needs to be supported. I would very much like, corporate world to come in and to support it, so that we can have a truly meaningful, significant
But why would the
cultural-
corporate world support it unless there is something in it for them? Why is this belief? Now we saw orchestra from Munich come into India. Zubin Mehta was
Sure.
conducting it. You saw top 5 German corporations sponsoring it. Bosch, Siemens, Lufthansa,
Exactly.
so on and so forth. Because they see that as promoting an idea, as promoting German culture. Why aren't Indian corporates seeing it
I
that
think
way?
I think they have to. I think there has to be a kind of a value which one, I think, gives to the classical arts in India. I think we have to really understand how much it sort of enriches our life and how much I think it truly becomes us to be culturally aware with the classical arts. I know now, there are all these different thrusts and different the global thinking, and the classical arts is definitely, certainly on a kind of a margin. But I wish, because I think there is much to be sort of, derived from the classical arts. And I would say sometimes the corporate world do come in. I mean, I do lecture demonstrations for corporate world, which one wouldn't have done, say, 5 years ago. But now it is happening. So there is an interest. But I think what would be wonderful is if people, come in, not financially, support it, so that one can do more research. One can.
Is there more that the artistic community can do to make arts more relevant, more profitable, more productive?
I think.
To get more economics into arts.
I think there is a lot. I think it's a question of presentation, it's a question of how you get it to the audience. I think even for the classical arts, there is a large audience, you know, but they're not sort of targeted, I think, in a way.